This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Attorney Samakow. Paul, good to see you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor.
You're most welcome. So you're an attorney, a lawyer, eh?
I am an attorney, yes, sir.
So what do you do?
I handle cases involving people who've been injured. There's any
Personal injury?
Personal injury, yes. We're not talking about your lamp getting hurt. I don't care about your lamp. Well, I care about your lamp, but this is your body. I want to protect you and obtain compensation for you if, heaven forbid, you should be injured. Most of the cases I handle are people who have been in car accidents or hurt on the workplace, on the job, that sort of thing.
Good. So what's the good insurance coverage?
Well, if we're going to talk...
If I get injured, I just want to make sure that I'm well covered.
Absolutely. There's any number of car insurance companies, and I don't really have a preference on which company, but there are two very important coverages that I believe that everybody should have when we're talking about, with their car.
Okay, so let's talk about the comprehensive collision and what's the other one is?
The comprehensive and the collision deal with the vehicle.
Right.
And you should have...
Then you have personal liability.
Yeah, you should have a coverage that covers your car, maybe $50,000 to $100,000 in case you caused the collision and someone else is making a claim against you. But the important coverages for your body are liability and an accompanying coverage called uninsured motorist.
Okay.
So the liability covers you if you're at fault. You hit somebody, it's an accident, and they want to make a claim against your company. I encourage individuals to have a liability coverage amount of at least $100,000.
That may not be enough if you kill somebody.
Well, certainly it's not enough. We know that the state of Virginia requires...
Is the minimum 100,000?
No,
I thought it was 300,000.
Oh, it's 25,000 in Virginia.
That's pretty low.
And 30,000 in Maryland. It's ridiculously low.
It is low.
I'm a nervous guy because I see what happens in the world. I have coverage of $1 million. I recommend that. Now, the difference between the premium for $100,000
it's not that much.
and $1 million, it's not that much.
Yeah, so I don't know why people are not doing that.
Because their insurance agents, frankly, lie to them.
Well, why would they lie something like that if they can get their customer to get the maximum coverage for a minimum amount of premium?
Here's why. The insurance representative, the salesperson, is working for the company who tells them to sell the lower policy and collect a little bit less premium than the big policy, which, if there's a big problem, exposes the company to having to pay out potentially tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars more.
And they don't want to do that.
They don't want to do that. So they'd rather take 10 policies and collect $200 each policy than sell a big policy and get $250 for that one.
Okay, what about the comprehensive collision in addition to that?
These are things that have
deductible.
to do with the deductible. I don't really have too many opinions. Just get something $50,000 to $100,000 that covers the car. It's not, this is like in my mind, a who cares. I mean, if it's just car damage, then of course you care. But the important thing in the world is us, me and you, our bodies, our family, the loved ones we have, our friends.
What about the uninsured vehicles?
Uninsured is the same as the liability.
Okay.
And this kicks in.
Or about no-fault insurance?
Well, we're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah. I want to get both.
I'm going to promise you I'm going to explain all of it
Let's
for
go
you.
get it. Let's go
your
do
audience. It. Okay, so the uninsured also covers underinsured.
Okay.
So that if someone hits me and they don't have insurance or they don't have enough insurance, then my insurance is going to take the place of their insurance at no cost to me. They can't increase my premium, they can't cancel my policy, but they will then become the insurance of the other party, and there again, I want to have high limits. I want at least $100,000, even $1 million of coverage, because again, my family, my friends, me, whoever's in my car, if that guy who caused the accident didn't have enough insurance, I want there to be good coverage for me and my loved ones. Now, we talk about no fault. Maryland and Virginia are not no-fault states. The concept of no fault means that if we're in a collision, you take care of yours and I take care of mine unless we meet certain thresholds. But in both states, we do have benefits that are available. In Maryland, it's called Personal Injury Protection. It's abbreviated PIP.
PIP.
Which you automatically get It's automatic with your coverage unless you sign a paper that says, no, I don't want it. I waive
unless
it.
you waive it.
$2,500.
Okay.
I recommend, again, going and getting $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. I've seen policies of $100,000 in PIP benefits. And it is a premium which is so ridiculously small. I've heard
It's worth having it.
you have to have it.
Yeah.
The agents tell you, oh, you don't need it, you have health insurance. Ridiculous. Hooey. You do want it. You want it because it's extra coverage for you, and they can't cancel your policy. They can't raise your premium. You get these benefits even if you're at fault in the accident. You're entitled to it. In Virginia, it's called medical payment benefits.
Okay.
And these come in increments of $1,000. Typically, a good insurance med pay coverage, again, could be $10,000 per vehicle or even up to $50,000 or $100,000. And the premium's so small. Every client that comes through my doors, I require that they look, that they show me their insurance. I can look at it and I make recommendations to go do this, go do that. I don't care which company they use. They're all the same, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that I understand what the lawyers do, so I have two questions. What does the good lawyer mean? What does the bad lawyer mean? Not only that, so I got an, God forbid it happens, so
Yeah.
I'm into what I can accident. So what do I do?
Okay, well, you've asked me many questions, so I'll try and figure out which one I want to answer.
What do you
the best.
like?
All right, if you're in an accident, the first thing you want to do is take an assessment quickly of your health, your situation.
Okay.
If it's appropriate in even half of your assessment that you might be injured, I recommend going to the hospital because it's better to be safe than sorry. People say, don't ever admit it's your fault. Well, that's probably good advice unless it's just so absolutely clear. You don't know what happened sometimes. There's any number of physiological things that go on that, you're disoriented, you're not sure what happened. You can walk and talk, but you may not be thinking properly. So probably it's a good idea not to admit that you're at fault if there's a collision. You want to exchange information with the insurance documents or who the other person's insurance is and give them yours. If you have a cell phone that has a camera on it nowadays, everybody seemingly does, take pictures to show the damage of the car and where the vehicles were on the roadway.
Well, that's a good advice.
Because even now, when it's clearly the other person's fault, if it's side versus side, a side impact, well, the other guy's insurance is going to deny that unless there's proof that he was in your lane. So taking a picture just of the car shows me the damage to the car, but it doesn't show where on the road the vehicles hit each other. So I want proof where it happened in that type of collision. Moving forward, many of the insurance companies want to talk to you right away. And there's a reason for it, because you're disoriented, maybe a little bit not sure, you're going to say things. They say it can be used against you. And in fact, that's exactly what happens. You tell them you're not hurt because sometimes it takes a day or two to really fully appreciate the effects of the injury, but you've already said you're not hurt, so then they're going to deny your claim because you said you weren't hurt. So don't talk to the insurance companies first. I might be biased because I'm an attorney, but I talk to hundreds of people before they have the opportunity to talk to the insurance company. And many of these people don't need a lawyer. For a small case, generally you don't. But where you get a benefit by talking to a lawyer first is you get information about how to proceed, what to do. So I always encourage talking to an attorney first who can give you information, give you advice, always for free. And then, the benefit to me in giving free advice is that if, heaven forbid, they are injured, they may consider coming back to me.
So if someone in an accident, Paul, tell me how did they get hold of you? You're an attorney.
Well, there's a million ways to find lawyers. I mean, I advertise in many different media.
Okay.
I have a very large client base who recommends me to their friends because they've used me and
Sure.
they were pleased with what I was able to do for them.
Sure.
Again, my advice about finding an attorney, frankly, I like referrals. I like recommendations. I mean, you can go to the internet, and you can go to the Yellow Pages, and you can go to Better Business Bureau, and these are all not bad things to do. But if you know somebody and you trust them and they can give you a good recommendation, a good referral, tell you about the workings of the attorney, his staff, are they professional, are they courteous, that to me is worth its weight in gold. That's the best way, in my view, to find a lawyer.
So that's the definition of good lawyer or the bad lawyer?
Well, okay, now we'll get to a good lawyer, a bad lawyer. they can say that you wear a hat and you're a jack of all trades. In today's legal world, I think that it's very difficult to be a general attorney. The work that I do specifically, it is so detail driven. There's so many opportunities to make mistakes and to miss things innocently, not because I'm a bad lawyer, but just if I don't know, what is that expression? You don't know what you don't know? There's too many ways to mess up the case, which could severely affect the client. So I would say first, if you're going to hire an attorney for a personal injury matter, you want to hire an attorney with a great deal of experience. You want to check some references. You want to call former clients and say, how did this guy do? How did this woman do? I'm picking this person as my lawyer.
Okay.
And when you get that information, then you can glean that, yes, this is someone experienced, knows what they're doing. It doesn't mean that the other person is a bad lawyer, but it's just a situation of knowledge and ability to operate in a small environment that has, any case could have 150 different little checklist items that if you miss one or two, poof, you could be, significantly compromised with your case.
Okay, so now you have an accident. You exchange the insurance cards, and you didn't call your insurance company. You got a lawyer, and so on and so forth. Is it worthwhile to go to court?
Well, here's another very interesting analysis that is certainly on a case-by-case basis. The insurance companies are risk analysis animals.
A risk analysis animal.
They will offer a certain amount of money to compensate a victim of an automobile collision, and that's all they're going to offer. And they do that because they have made an analysis of the risk of going to court and having to pay more. So with your attorney, you sit down and you are able to evaluate the offer that has been extended to settle your case, because if you settle it, you're done.
Yeah.
5 months later, if you still have a pain in your neck and you want to go back to the doctor, that's too bad, too late. Your case has been settled, you sign the papers, you can't reopen your case. So making a settlement decision is an important decision. If the offer is reasonable, if it basically covers the payment of all of the medical bills, the compensation for the time that you've missed from your job because you were physically unable to work and you lost wages, and if it gives you an additional amount of money for the suffering that you undertook, the disruption of your life, your pain, your inconvenience, your aggravation, people, sir, just as you and I, in our age of, I still get people, men and women, who come into me and say, after this collision, I just didn't want to get in the car. I was nervous. I was afraid.
Well, which is natural.
It's natural.
The reaction, right?
It's very natural. So in some manner, that doesn't make for $1 million in compensation that's due to them, but that has to be compensated. So the analysis on a case-by-case basis is whether or not it's likely that going to court is going to produce a result that would be beneficial to take the time, make the delay, spend the money, because there are costs in going to court.
Yes, it is.
If I can put $10,000 in your pocket now to compensate
And you only pay a couple of $1,000, so worthwhile doing it.
Right.
It's a good example.
If it's $10,000 now, or maybe in 7 or 8 months we get $12,000, is that worth it? And so that's the decision. And
So that's a trade-off you have to make.
Right. Now, if it's $10,000 now or $25,000 probably later, that's what I call the no-brainer. Let's go to court. But if it's in the other example, maybe you don't want to risk, waiting that time to get maybe $2,000 more.
So the court usually favors customer like me and the people who are victim of the circumstances, the victim of the car insurance, not necessarily the big, large insurance companies. That depends on case-by-case basis.
Again, I think it's case-by-case. I think, for the most part, I've been in courtrooms all across the area, Maryland and Virginia. I believe that the judges who decide the smaller cases are fair and reasonable, and they really truly try to give an equal shake to both sides. And then, of course, if it's a bigger case, typically it would involve a jury deciding. And a jury is, people from the community who hear all the information from both sides, and the advocates, the lawyers on both sides, and they make a decision. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to say, well, that's what the community, evidenced by this jury pool here, that's what they felt. I don't think there's an overwhelming influence of favoritism to one or the other. I think it's for the most part fair and reasonable. Now you get results once in a while. It's like, holy moly, how did that happen? Both good and bad. But it's again, that's the risk you take in not settling the case.
Now let's talk about now you have a accident. So who pays for your, for repairing the cars and so on and so forth, and what do you do with the rental cars and so on and so forth?
A collision occurs, and if you have the comprehensive in collision, you can use your own insurance.
But it will be deductible, the amount.
And you have to pay the deductible.
Right.
And then your insurance company would go to the other person and say, the other person's insurance, and say, we paid this for our insured, but your person was at fault, and so they tell the other insurance to pay them back.
Okay.
And when that happens, then they refund your deductible to you. You can also go the route of having the other person's insurance pay for it directly and not involve your insurance. Many people make the mistake that involving their insurance is a bad thing. That's why you have the insurance. That's why you do it. Don't hesitate. You want your car fixed? Go get your insurance. And if you have the rental coverage, get the rental vehicle.
Well, let the audience know that there is something you have to pay for it for rental coverage, correct?
Well, again, here we have the whole discussion of rental. When you go get a rental car, it's very important to understand that the industry pays, the insurance industry pays for replacement transportation, not replacement of your car. So if you have a big expensive Mercedes or Jaguar or a big expensive car, no, you don't get that. You're going to get a sedan that is allowing you and your family to do what you need to do to go from here to there. Oftentimes people are tricked up by the insurance, by the representatives at the rental car company of getting one of the expressions is a physical damage waiver. Mm-hmm. It's the extra insurance that would be required if something happens to the rental car. And I counsel my clients not to get that, to decline that insurance.
Because your insurance will pay for it.
Your insurance pays for it.
So
yes.
That means you don't have to pay extra money when
right.
you go rent a car, right?
That's correct.
Okay. A lot of people make a mistake.
They do, and then they have to pay for it.
Pay. I mean, you're talking about a lot of money.
Typically, it's $15 to $20 a day. So if you
which
rent
is
a
fairly
car,
expensive.
Sure, you rent a car for a week. I mean, that could be, that's not inexpensive. You're right.
No, I say so. Well, thank you very much, Paul, for giving you a thoughtful and very constructive kind of message to the audience. It was a very, very, thoughtful dialogue between two of us, and